Imagine a world where the maps you use to navigate are not just wrong but dangerously misleading. A world where the most influential mapmaker in history made mistakes that would shape the future for centuries to come. This is the story of Ptolemy, a man whose influence on cartography and geography has lasted for over 2 millennia, and the medieval Christian geographers who rejected his scientific methods in favor of religious dogma. In the ancient world, Ptolemy was a towering figure. He lived in Alexandria, Egypt, during the 2nd century AD, a time when the city was a hub of learning and culture. Ptolemy was a polymath, a man who excelled in astronomy, mathematics, and geography. His most famous work, Geography, was a groundbreaking treatise that laid the foundation for modern cartography. Ptolemy introduced the grid system of latitude and longitude, a system we still use today to pinpoint locations on the Earth. He also developed a method for projecting the spherical Earth onto a flat map, a technique that is still relevant in modern cartography. Ptolemy's influence is so profound that even today, when you look at a map, you are seeing his legacy. The grid system, the convention of placing north at the top and east at the right, and the division of the Earth into degrees, minutes, and seconds, all these innovations are Ptolemaic. Ptolemy's maps were not just scientific tools, they were a way of understanding the world. He marked off the Earth into regions, giving more detail to populous areas, and he established the distinction between geography, mapping the Earth as a whole, and chorography, mapping specific places in detail. But Ptolemy's work was not without its flaws. One of his most significant errors was his miscalculation of the Earth's circumference. He rejected the accurate estimate of Eratosthenes, who calculated the Earth's circumference to be about 25,000 miles. Instead, Ptolemy estimated the Earth to be only 18,000 miles around. This underestimation had profound consequences. Ptolemy also stretched the map of Asia eastward, making it appear much larger than it actually is. These errors led to a significant miscalculation of the distance between Europe and Asia, which in turn influenced Christopher Columbus's decision to sail westward in search of a new trade route to the Indies. Despite his mistakes, Ptolemy's work was a major step forward in the field of geography. He had the courage to face the cartographic challenges posed by the Earth's spherical shape. He developed a table of chords, based on the trigonometry of Hipparchus, to define the distance between places. He also projected the spherical Earth onto a flat surface, a technique that, while not perfect, was a significant improvement over previous methods. Ptolemy's influence extended far beyond his own time. For centuries, his geography was the standard reference for mapmakers and scholars. It was not until the Renaissance that his work was revisited and corrected. But even then, Ptolemy's methods and concepts continued to shape the way people understood the world. However, the progress of knowledge did not continue uninterrupted. After Ptolemy's death, the Roman Empire fell, and Europe entered a period known as the Middle Ages. During this time, the influence of Christianity grew, and the Church became the dominant authority in matters of education and knowledge. Christian leaders built a grand barrier against the progress of scientific inquiry, particularly in the field of geography. Geography was not considered a proper discipline in the medieval educational system. It did not fit into the 7 liberal arts, which were the core subjects of medieval education. As a result, geography became a neglected field, filled with myths, legends, and religious dogma. Medieval Christian geographers produced maps that were more like religious icons than scientific instruments. These maps, known as Mapi Mundi, were simple and symbolic. They depicted the Earth as a circular disk divided by a T-shaped flow of water. Asia was placed at the top, with Europe to the left and Africa to the right. The Mediterranean Sea divided Europe from Africa, and the Danube and Nile rivers were supposed to flow in a single line, dividing the continents from Asia. Jerusalem was always placed at the center, reflecting its importance in Christian belief. These maps were not based on accurate measurements or observations, but on religious and mythological ideas. One of the most prominent features of these maps was the depiction of the Garden of Eden. According to Christian belief, Eden was a paradise located in the east, at the top of the map. It was a place of perfect peace and happiness, where Adam and Eve lived before the fall. Medieval Christians believed that Eden was a real place, and many stories and legends were written about it. Some even claim to have found it. For example, the Irish monk St. Brendan is said to have sailed westward and discovered an island that he believed was the Garden of Eden. This island, known as St. Brendan's Island, appeared on maps for centuries, even though it was a purely mythical place. Another significant feature of medieval maps was the depiction of Gog and Magog. According to the Bible, Gog and Magog were evil forces that would rise up against God's people in the end times. Medieval geographers placed Gog and Magog in the extreme north, often beyond a wall built by Alexander the Great. This wall was supposed to keep these evil forces at bay, but the threat of their invasion was a constant source of fear and anxiety. The medieval Christian view of the world was a mixture of religious belief and myth. It was a world filled with wonders and terrors, where the most important places were those mentioned in the Bible. This view of the world was so powerful that it suppressed the scientific progress of the ancient world. For centuries, the knowledge of Ptolemy and other ancient geographers was forgotten or ignored. It was not until the Renaissance that this knowledge was rediscovered and built upon. The Renaissance was a time of great intellectual and cultural revival in Europe. Scholars began to study the works of the ancient Greeks and Romans, including the writings of Ptolemy. They revisited his methods and corrected his errors. The rediscovery of Ptolemy's work sparked a new interest in geography and cartography. Mapmakers began to produce more accurate and detailed maps, using the grid system and other techniques developed by Ptolemy. One of the most significant figures in this revival was Christopher Columbus. Columbus was deeply influenced by Ptolemy's work, but he also made some critical errors. He underestimated the size of the Earth even further than Ptolemy had, believing that the distance between Europe and Asia was much shorter than it actually is. This miscalculation led him to sail westward, hoping to reach the Indies. Instead, he discovered the Americas, a continent that was unknown to Europeans at the time. The discovery of the Americas marked the beginning of a new era in geography and exploration. As more and more explorers set out to chart the unknown world, the maps of Ptolemy were revised and expanded. The grid system and other techniques he developed became the foundation of modern cartography. Today, the maps we use are far more accurate and detailed than those of Ptolemy, but they are built on the same principles he established. In conclusion, Ptolemy's influence on cartography and geography is immense. His work laid the foundation for modern mapmaking and changed the way we understand the world. However, his influence was not always positive. His errors, particularly his miscalculation of the Earth's circumference, had far-reaching consequences. The medieval Christian view of the world, with its emphasis on religious dogma and myth, suppressed the scientific progress of the ancient world. It was not until the Renaissance that this progress was resumed, and the true shape of the world was rediscovered. Today, we stand on the shoulders of giants like Ptolemy, but we must also recognize the limitations and errors of their work. By learning from the past, we can continue to advance our understanding of the world and navigate it with greater accuracy and confidence.